So today I'm going to switch the thing on, and we're going to go back to 1954, and it's the £1 Million Note. It's a British period comedy based on the Mark Twain short story, The £1 Million Banknote, which was published in 1893. It's set in Edwardian times, the film, set in Edwardian times. The film stars Gregory Peck, an American actor, as the lead character, but it's a British film. He's the lead character, Seaman Henry Adams, who sailed his own boat on the sea. He's a sailor, seaman, but got into trouble and was rescued by a ship coming into England, where he was left penniless and hungry to look for a job, while the American embassy might help him eventually. They're not going to give him any money, but once he's got some money, they can help him. And at the same time, two rich and eccentric brothers, Oliver and Roderick Montpellier, persuade the Bank of England to let them have the issue of a £1 Million Note. The Montpellier brothers and Henry Adams come together purely by chance, as Henry happens to pass by when the brothers look out the window and call him into the house instead of some random person. And they present him with the note in a sealed envelope, telling him only that it contains some money and that he must not open it until an appointed time sometime later. Now, a note in the envelope explains that this is a wager, once he's opened it, explains that this is a wager, and that if the banknote is returned unharmed, or at least intact, in a month, the brothers will give Henry a job. So he goes for this. Oliver and Roderick have placed a bet with each other. Now, Oliver is operating under his theory that merely the presence of the note will allow the bearer to get almost anything that they would want. Roderick, on the other hand, expects that the bearer will still have to transact for most things with some amount of actual money. So Henry goes into a restaurant, orders a very hearty meal with the envelope perched in front of him, and he then orders the same meal all over again. And the time comes to settle the bill. So when the time comes to open the envelope, at the time more or less arrives, he opens it to a shock. It's a £1 Million Note. First time anyone has ever seen such a thing. He hands it to the waiter, who is equally shocked, and it circulates around the staff, who conclude that Henry is they whisper to each other in the background. They conclude that Henry is an eccentric millionaire who dresses plainly because, well, he's eccentric. They realise that they are in the presence of a powerful and rich man, so they happily waive the bill. And they basically say, you can eat here anytime you like, don't worry about the money. Henry has to get a new suit, so because he tore the one that he's wearing trying to chase the note when it escapes in the wind. And there's a comedic and theatrical little episode of paper chasing. And in the tailor's, he's looking for a one-off suit and off-the-shelf suit, he's looking for an off-the-shelf suit, and he's given a ridiculous suit, basically just to get rid of him. And then when the note is presented, the same pattern emerges. Astoundment at first, and then an account is quickly drawn up in his favour, even without his request, and a new suit is immediately run up for him. Many suits, in fact. And similar with the hotel suites, except the Duke of Frognall, already resident in the suite, gets evicted for not having paid for some months. And also there's a mix-up in identity with a mute strongman, which results in that said strongman, becoming Henry's assistant for a month. The newspapers latch onto the story, so before long the entire public, or at least all of London, are aware of him and his situation. He finds himself in important social circles now all of a sudden. Among all the important American and British knobs, N-O-B, yes, he meets Portia Lansdowne. He also meets another American, Lloyd Hastings, who ropes him into a business investment. Now, Henry doesn't have to contribute any actual money to it. He only needs the association with Henry to sell shares in a gold mine. Henry, of course, benefits from this too, with shares in it. The Duke of Frognall plays a trick on Henry by arranging with the maid to surreptitiously steal and hide the £1 Million Note. Because of Henry's inability to produce the note, the papers report this, and the gold mine sinks in value. His tailors take back the clothes, everything starts going badly, and while he's explaining to his shareholders, the Duke rescues the situation after a bit of a prolonged agony rescues the situation by bringing the note, and as soon as the note is waved in the air again, all his investors suddenly see him as the erudite and trustworthy millionaire that they knew he was, and not the penniless, deceptive fraud they thought he was a few minutes ago when he couldn't produce the note. Now, the film is actually the model for the 1983 film Trading Places. It features many of the same interactions and the character types, including the same eccentric rich brothers placing a bet on the outcome of an intentional financial catalyst in the life of a poor stranger. So 1954, the £1 million note. Thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone.